safety. It's a cause that we have taken very seriously here at Caranbike, and with good reason. For long now, we have talked about the statistics of how India has some of the worst track record when it comes to road safety, vehicular safety, fatalities on the road, and what can be done to fix that. Luckily, a lot has been done in the last few years, and I have to say that it has surprised many to see a lot of that action and movement coming from parts of the industry you would not have expected. It is Road Safety Month, and what better time than to discuss all of this with Dr. Pawan Goenka, who's joining me right now. Pawan needs no introduction as the Managing Director at M&M. Pawan, thank you. Good to see you.
Siddharth, good to talk to you about safety. We have been talking safety for at least 7-8 years on camera and off camera. So I'm glad that today we are in a position where we can be proud of what we as a country have achieved.
Where we are today, 2021, it is, like I said, Road Safety Month. It's not, of course, the only time we should be discussing this, but tell me, I mean, you just said it yourself. So many years where now we have seen a massive change. Firstly, do you feel happy with what has been achieved?
Yes, I do, Siddharth. And I must give credit where credit is due. I think the person who has really driven road safety in a big way in India is the Minister of Road Transport, Sri Gadkariji. He had been almost on a crusade from the day he took office, saying that I want to see the road fatalities come down by half in the next 5 to 7 years. The second one, where we were in the early part very much critical of, is Global NCAP. Global NCAP has brought a lot of visibility to road safety in India, safety of cars in India. And clearly, the star ratings that come from Global NCAP now is getting a lot of attention, both in car makers and in car users and consumers. And that's made a huge difference in automakers trying to get to a higher safety rating. And I think the most important point, Siddharth, is that consumers are willing to pay for road safety or choose a car based on safety and not just based on fuel efficiency or price.
At Mahindra, we've seen that huge change as well, in the sense, it wasn't as if no company was ever interested in safety, but like you said, it was probably not the top of mind when it came to what the consumer wanted or what we thought the consumer wanted. How much of a massive change have you seen within the company as well?
Well, I would say that Mahindra got serious about car safety from XUV 500 days. The kind of features that we had put in there, ABS, the ESP, the number of airbags that we had was unheard of in India, at least for a car designed, developed and made in India. Since then, we have over years taken our safety features in lower and lower price variant, coming to a point in 2016 where we said that every variant of Mahindra car, new cars, will have the safety features available, at least as an option, even the lowest variant. And I must admit that what has also helped in making these equipment available in lowest end of the vehicle or in the low priced car is how the prices have come down. I remember that if I was to do inflation adjusted costing of something like an ABS, it is about half of what it was in 2011. Same is true for airbags, even maybe 60% lower than what it was in 2011. So given the volumes have gone up of these components, the prices are coming down, and I think they'll come down even more. The next thing that we need to bring in more and more cars is ESP, which still is somewhat of a niche feature and available only in the higher end variants and more expensive cars.
I think it's a point that needs to be acknowledged. The fact that not every OEM, not every car maker in India took up this challenge post 2014 when these Global NCAP results came out to really bring that change. And like Pawan said, across all variants, Tata has done it, Mahindra has done it. So Indian companies doing it, that is not something people would have expected. People would have expected the global OEMs to be, bringing in all this technology to India and staying at the forefront.
It gives me a lot of pride that Indian OEMs are almost ahead of the game in terms of providing car to Indian users which are safer than many other cars. And the reason I take big pride in that is there is a general perception 5 years ago, 7 years ago, that Indian manufacturers may not have the technology or the desire or the will to bring a safer car to India. And I think we have proven that that's not the case at all. We have the technology, we have the desire, and we have gone out of our way in some cases to make sure that our cars for Indian consumers are as safe as any other car in India. And I'm glad that Tatas and Mahindras are leading the way in global NCAP ratings.
I agree. I feel a sense of pride too, and it's great that it's Indian manufacturers and not just companies based in India who are doing this. I'm going to weave in this question that's come in from one of our viewers. The NCAP rating for the Thar, the 4-star, what makes it so special? And especially because it's the only 4-star rated off-roader in India.
So Siddharth, as you know very well, that Thar is an off-roader and therefore high ground clearance, which is required for high off-roading. But it's a negative when it comes to the crash requirement and the safety, right?
Yeah.
And therefore, it is that much more difficult to get a 4-star rating for a vehicle like Thar than it is for, let's say, a sedan or a normal crossover SUV. And that's the reason it was very special. And we took this challenge right from the beginning when we started even speccing the car, that 4-star rating is a must. And given that 4-star rating is a must, we then designed many sort of basic hard points, as we call it in the trade, of the wider track, of the kind of roll case that we did, the rollover mitigation that we did. All of that was really designed to ensure that we are able to offset the natural disadvantage of high ground clearance that comes in, which makes the star rating more difficult for a vehicle like Thar. And we were delighted that we were able to meet that requirement and were able to get a very comfortable 4-star rating, not even like a borderline 4-star, but a very comfortable 4-star rating in Thar. So I really am very proud of our engineering team that has been able to achieve this feat of giving us 4-star on Thar. And it's very special to me.
What I must also again point out to a lot of people who may not know is that it's not just a comfortable 4-star rating. In fact, it was just shy of a 5-star rating.
I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say that.
No, I can say it because it's true. I mean, I've gone through the entire report from Global NCAP, and it was, it always works like that. You have certain points that add up to different thresholds, and it was almost a 5-star rating. So kudos to the team for sure on that. Now, the reason why I said it sets you up is because obviously these learnings go into then future products, different products, not just on this platform, but other platforms. When it comes to future product development, I think you've already said this publicly several times, that you will not want to go below a 4-star now, and that's like a basic minimum threshold. Do you think that's the approach the industry should start to adopt sooner than later?
Well, look, I think let's put it in 3 buckets. One is regulation. Regulation is getting tighter in India. Now we are almost on par with Europe. So that obviously everybody has to make, so there's no question. As far as star rating is concerned, that's not a regulation, right? That is just an external certification, and the way the automakers will go for 4-star, 5-star rating as the minimum threshold will be if consumers start saying, what's your rating? And if consumers start discarding cars with 2 or 3-star, I think that is the best way of convincing an OEM that you have to have 4 and 5-star rating. And so I think consumer are the best people, or best way that we can ensure that every manufacturer goes for 4 and 5-star rating. As you know very well that in Europe, in US, it's mandatory to display the rating, the crash rating done by the agencies, and consumers then make an informed choice on whether to kind of discard the cars that don't have the 4 or 5-star rating. And India should move towards that, I would think, very quickly. And what the government can do is mandate a star rating display.
No, I agree, and I think the sooner that happens, the better it will be. And in fact, a lot of people have started asking for that. I mean, some of the response that we got, in fact, to even today's session, people are saying, why can't this just be displayed on the car? And I agree. It should be. Now, I'm going to bring in one question here. We talked about ESP, but there's a great question. At the Auto Expo in 2020, Mahindra displayed its advanced safety systems, the ADAS, that are already under development. How does Mahindra plan to deploy these features in chaotic Indian road conditions, and how soon?
Well, a lot gets talked about chaotic Indian road conditions, and therefore people say that anything that is sort of computer decision, computer cannot decide because of chaos on a road. I don't think that's true. I think the kind of improvement that have happened in algorithms, in AI systems, in data analysis really allow the computer to do better than the reflexes that a human being can have. What happens, unfortunately, that one error by computer gets a headline, and errors by humans while driving sort of are taken as part of the norm. What Mahindra is trying to do is bring in with our next vehicle launch ADAS in a sort of graduated manner. Things that we feel will be the most important are the ones that we're going to bring out first, and I wouldn't want to name right now what they are. I want to keep that a surprise for the launch. But I have driven this vehicle on a test drive, and I think it's going to make a huge difference in road safety for our cars. And it's not about eliminating the driver. That's not our objective at all. It is driver assist, as the name suggests. ADAS is automated driver assist system, right? So it's helping the driver to make the right decisions in various things that he does while driving the car. So we are clearly looking at it very seriously and bringing these technologies in a manner that is right for the Indian roads and Indian drivers.
So can I venture a guess here that this is your premium flagship vehicle we're talking about? I won't ask more than that.
No, we're talking about 601, which is the next launch, that I can tell you. But what features we are bringing in, I won't tell you.
That's fair. No, that's fair. And in fact, that's something to look forward to for sure. What should be the next step? I mean, yes, we can keep lobbying with the government to make things like ESP mandatory, rear seatbelts, etc. But what about things like child safety?
See, one of the rules that must come in India, I believe, and which are in all Western countries, is the requirement, mandatory requirement of using a child seat when you have a child under a certain age in the car. Because a child without child seat is not well protected in a car because the seat belts and all cannot really protect the child. Therefore, child seat becomes important. As you know that one of the ratings that comes with global NCAP is the child safety rating, but that rating is done with the child seat on. Without the child seat, the child is not really safe in an accident in a car. So I think regulation must come in for mandatory use of child safety, which is a very big thing that will happen. And I think that to me should be the number one priority right now in the next edition that we have in regulation.
I want to applaud you for saying that, because I feel like I'm in the minority sometimes when I talk about this topic.
I mean, unfortunately, I really feel very sad when I see mothers or fathers holding their baby in their lap while driving a car. You know, that is the worst thing that you can do for the child safety if there is an accident. So it's really, I mean, education for parents with young children on what is the best way to protect your child in a car in case of an accident is something that I think hasn't gotten much importance yet. But I would also like to add one more thing, Sid. I talked about what the road users have to do and what the drivers have to do. It's not just about cars becoming safer. It's how you use the car and how you use the road, which is equal determinant of what kind of accidents or fatalities that we have on the road.
No, I agree. And in fact, that is the one question that I must quickly bring in now. It's segued us perfectly to it. What tips would you want to give to an average Indian driver who wants to be as safe on the road as possible?
So this is a road safety month, and Mahindra has come out with a road safety pledge of 8 points that we have made in that pledge, which are very simple, easy to follow, but sometimes we just ignore these simple things that are required for safety of a car. Number one, always wear your seatbelt. As simple as that. Always wear your seatbelt no matter what. And you're not fooling anybody but yourself if you don't wear the seatbelt. Number two, don't overspeed. Number three, no drink and driving. Number four, make sure your car is fit. By that I mean your brakes are in good condition, your steering is in a good condition, make sure your car is fit. So these are some very simple things that one has to adhere to. Don't talk on mobile while driving. I will come on the pedestrian side. The old thing about look left, then look right, and look left again before crossing the road that our grandmothers used to teach us, I think many of us have forgotten. We need to be very careful when we are on a road with motor vehicles plying on the road. And I remember once on a Nasik highway, Bombay-Nasik highway, I was standing there for something, and I saw this truck speeding by, and this woman just decided to walk across. And I could see the truck driver. He had so much agony on his face. There's nothing he could do to stop the truck at that time. And he hit the woman. She died on the spot. And the driver could do nothing. So these are the kind of things that you have to control yourself, because this is your own life that you're risking if you're not crossing the road carefully. You're not going to, if the driver gets fined, it doesn't save your life. If the driver goes to jail, it doesn't save your life. So you have to be careful about when you're crossing the road. You have to be careful about where you park your car. Things like that. So these are the basic, simple thing one has to do for safety. And our fatalities can come down drastically if everybody just follows the discipline of how to use the road and how to use the car. The cars, newer cars now are reasonably safe with everything that has been done in the last few years. And I think now we need to really focus on how to use the car and how to use the roads.
Yeah, you're right. And we talked about, like you said, what the vehicle can do. We've talked about what drivers of vehicles can do, pedestrians. From an infrastructure perspective, I mean, do you think certain, especially on the highway, because people are still getting used to driving at those higher speeds, etc., lane keeping and making sure that, people are just that much more aware of what they're doing, taking breaks if they're getting tired, etc. I mean, you've worked on certain pilot projects like that as well.
Sid, I would like to just spend a minute on this. This is a very important topic. Mr. Gadkari talks about the 4 E's: engineering, education, enforcement, and emergency care. And what we have found, we have this sort of pilot project on Mumbai-Pune Expressway, which is just about 100 kilometer of expressway. And we have had this project for about 5 years now, and we have spent about 16 crores, so not a huge sum of money. But I'm so impressed that with these small interventions that we have done, of ensuring there are road markers, of ensuring there are proper signs, having emergency care or ambulances available, we have been able to reduce fatalities on Mumbai-Pune Expressway by half in an effort of 5 years. That's 200 lives saved. We are working with the Save Life Foundation, we are working with the State Department authorities, we are working with the police. Everybody is very cooperative, and it's almost like a benchmark project for us. And I think if many of the corporates take such similar projects where they take a stretch of road and work on these things, it's not very expensive. The templates have been defined now, and I think it's going to really make a huge difference in both number of fatalities and number of accidents that will come down as a result of that. Lane changing, careless lane changing is one of the biggest cause of accidents. If we have proper markers, if we have proper education on this, I think it's going to make a huge difference.
Oh, I agree. And I think what you have said is so true, that if more corporates also get involved, and as you mentioned, the expense involved isn't too much, we can probably see this replicating across the country much quicker than what it would otherwise take, for the government to do it. Just 2 more topics before I let you go, Pawan. I know I could go on talking with you, and I know you could go on talking with me about safety, but...
Well, that's one of my favorite topics, Sid, you know that.
Actually, yeah, it's not just safety, that's true. But anything automotive or otherwise. One thing that gets also sometimes confused in terms of messaging, in terms of perception from the consumer side is that, I care about this, but I'm going to have to shell out a lot more money. Of late, we've seen some really high-rated cars which aren't necessarily expensive to buy. Is that enough? I mean, can we expect more of the more mass, lower-end price spectrum cars moving in that direction, or do you think it's going to need just a slightly harder push on regulations?
So see, certain things have been mandated. So that obviously every vehicle, no matter what the price point is, have to meet. So driver airbag, for example. So all of those things have to be met, there is no question about it. Now beyond that, as I said earlier, it's a combination of 2 things. A combination of consumer pull and prices of the components. Now, I had mentioned that the airbag, ABS have become almost half of what it was, inflation adjusted, of what it was 10 years ago when we launched XUV500. And as the volumes go up, they will go down even further. In fact, right now we are talking to one of our suppliers on ESP and telling them, look, you have to take a forward-looking view on ESP and don't look at current volume. Look at what the volume can be. What we need to focus on is side impact. I think in side impact, we probably need to do a little bit more than what we have done, and many of the accidents are side impact accidents. So in frontal impact, we are pretty good now, I think. In side impact, we need to do a little bit more work. As an industry, I'm not talking of a specific vehicle or of Mahindra, I'm talking generally about the industry.
Last question then. Would you say safety has come of age in a sense in India?
An easy answer for me is to say yes. Okay. Even today, this still remains an urban phenomena. I don't know how much rural India is looking at safety of the car and willing to pay for the safety or at least give preference for cars that are safer. So we need to take this campaign, take it to rural area also, and make everyone aware. Sometimes there's a feeling that roads are safe in a semi-urban area. That's not true. I mean, roads are roads anywhere. And the other thing is that I think the supplier community has to work a little bit more to make it affordable for the consumers by able to do more localization of all safety equipment, and therefore making it easier for the OEMs to put them in and price the car that does not make safety very expensive. So if we can get the visibility in rural area, some regulatory push and some sort of optimization of cost, these three factors together would make safety come of age.
Well, it's a topic that certainly needs a lot of attention, and it's great to see everything that you have been doing personally and as a brand to bring a greater sense of safety to our roads, as well as, of course, safer cars. Thank you so much, Pawan. It's always a pleasure, and I really appreciate your time.
Siddharth, as usual, very nice talking to you, especially on the subject of safety. And I certainly hope that with all the collective efforts of OEMs, suppliers, government, NGOs, and media, and consumers, of course, India will move away from having the dubious distinction of having most road fatalities on the road and significantly reduce the number of deaths that we have on our roads. Thank you again.